Folks, welcome back to another episode of The Fallen Badge. Today, the murder of Trooper Landon Weaver, Pennsylvania State Police. Trooper Weaver is 23 years old. He had right at a year with the Pennsylvania State Police. Now, he had a wife. It was his high school sweetheart. Now, when he had joined the Pennsylvania State Police, he had started the academy in December of 2015, and when he got out, he went to Troop G, which is up there in Huntington. Now, our suspect, there wasn't much good to say about him. He liked to beat up women, and he had a very violent past. A hodgepodge of crimes. Now, in Pennsylvania, they have something called a protection from abuse order, which is just as the title implies. If your boyfriend, husband beats you up, you get this order right here, and it's supposed to keep them away from you. And of course, if the person named did it and you violate that order, well, you're subject to be arrested. Now, in these smaller areas out in the country where they may not have a sheriff's department or city police department to handle these things, the troopers take care of them. Now, what the suspect had done is he'd sent some text messages to his ex-girlfriend, and he had been to her work site and had put something in her car, some kind of present or something. Well, anyway, she called and complained about that. So they need to send somebody out there to go talk to the violator, our suspect. Well, the job's given to Trooper Weaver. And per their policy, you send one trooper for this. So he drove out there in the 12,000 block of Baker's Hollow Road. That's in Huntington County. So now it's around 6 p.m. Trooper Weaver, he knocks on the door, and the suspect's mama, she answers the door. Trooper Weaver says, "Hey, I need to talk to your son." So she lets him in the house, and she goes back there and she finds her son, our suspect, and said there's a trooper here to talk to him. So now Trooper Weaver and the suspect, they're in the kitchen. Now, our suspect, he admits that he's been in contact with the victim. He even showed the trooper his cell phone, which showed the text messages between the two. Now, Trooper Weaver tells the suspect, he says, "Well, you violated the PFA, which is that protection order." Now, Trooper Weaver, he tells the suspect, he says, "Well, tell you what, let's step out onto the porch. Let me call my supervisor, see if we can work something out on this." Now, the suspect, he tells the trooper, he says he don't want to go to jail. Now, that's a clear sign you probably got a problem. Now, the suspect, he says, "Okay, tell you what, I want to get a cigarette." The trooper says, "Okay." So Trooper Weaver, he follows the suspect into the bedroom. Then they come back out. They go into the mud room there off the kitchen. Trooper Weaver's actually walking in front, the suspect's walking behind him. So they're out there talking for a minute or two, and the mama says that her son comes back into the kitchen, and he puts a cigarette lighter on the kitchen counter. And she says he pulls out a small black pistol from his pants. Now, the mama sits there and asks her son, "What are you doing?" Her son didn't say anything. He just stepped back into the mudroom. She says as soon as he'd stepped into the mudroom, she heard a pop, and she saw Trooper Weaver fall face first onto the kitchen floor. And then she saw the blood on the kitchen floor. Now, that pistol that the suspect had used to shoot Trooper Weaver, he didn't buy it legally because he couldn't, because he's a convicted felon. So he had gotten that pistol by trading some dope to one of his buddies. Now the mama, she runs down into the basement. That's where her boyfriend's at, and she tells him what's done happened. So the boyfriend, he gets on the phone. He calls the Huntington County Emergency Communications Center and tells them what's going on. Now our suspect, before he takes off down the road, he sends 3 text messages to his ex-girlfriend. The first one said, "I killed the cop." This next one said, "I shot him twice in the head. He is dead. I love you. I always will. Goodbye, sweetheart. I'm sorry." So now he takes off to parts unknown. It probably took a few minutes for help to get there, but they get every police agency anywhere close. They're all down there and they're all looking. Now it takes them till the next morning, but they finally track down the suspect. Just before 10 a.m., they find the suspect in an unoccupied mobile home not far from his own house there, his mama's house. Now the suspect, he's shot and killed by the state police. According to the state police, he refused to surrender to the search party that was trying to arrest him. Officers said they opened fire when the suspect made an overt threat to their safety. The suspect refused commands to surrender, made threats to harm additional law enforcement personnel, and was shot and killed in the ensuing confrontation. The spokesperson for the trooper barracks there at Huntington, he says there would be no changes to their policy or procedures in how they handle a PFA violation. Said they would continue to send one lone trooper out to investigate these violations. According to the spokesperson, said there was no active domestic situation, and the subject of the PFA, which is the victim, was not at the scene nor in any immediate danger. Now that's the victim. I think the media is kind of wanting to know, what about the danger to the trooper? So the media kept on pressing, and they asked the spokesperson, would the state police have handled this any differently if they'd have known how violent of a history this suspect had? And in fact, he'd actually put a post on Facebook. And in that post, he said he wished death to cops. Now, when he was asked that question, the spokesperson said, if we would have known the history of this subject, we might have taken different precaution. I'll bet you would have. Trooper Landon Eugene Weaver. End of watch, December 30th, 2016.